as far as the president can go without legislation. There is a difference. There are some things like reforming qualified immunity, like Section 242, criminal civil liability, that can only be done through legislation. But President Biden has taken the full power that he has to make a maximal progress on this issue, and he has done so remarkably.
Ambassador Rice, we're talking on a very hard day. And just as I started talking to you, I started feeling tears well up. There's a lot going on. And then today, you're dealing with the second anniversary of one of the most transformational moments, the killing of a Black man after police kneeled on him and on his neck. I'm speaking of George Floyd. This is the second anniversary of the killing, the police-involved killing of George Floyd. And the president is responding to the lack thereof of any laws to change police brutality, police abuse, deadly force. He's responding with this executive order. And many in the White House have said executive orders do not have as much teeth as laws. What can we expect from this?
Well, April, just to take a step back, this is a very painful day, most of all for the Floyd family, but for all the families who've suffered so much from this scourge. And the president committed to supporting the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. This was legislation that passed the House of Representatives last year that would have made very profound and lasting reforms in policing. That bill died in the Senate because Republicans refused to accept even the most modest versions of police reform. And when that happened, President Biden committed to do what he could within the scope of his executive power to mandate police reforms and other reforms to our criminal justice system. We've been working for months in close consultation with members of Congress, with the families of the victims, with civil rights groups and leaders, and with police organizations, trying to find a series of executive actions that will move the ball as far down the field as we can without legislation, but do so in a way that garners the support of all the key stakeholders. And April, today, I think we've succeeded. This executive action will do a number of very important things. It'll have a national accountability database for misconduct. It will reform the use of force policy for the entire federal government, ensuring that deadly force is only used when necessary and when alternatives have been exhausted. It emphasizes de-escalation and the duty to intervene. So if you're an officer and another officer is doing something you know to be wrong, you have a duty to intervene. It bans chokeholds. It restricts no-knock warrants. It restricts the military equipment that the federal government can transfer to state and local entities. It uses the grant-making authority of the federal government to support and encourage reforms of the sort that are in the executive order at the state and local level. It goes, April, as far as the president can go without legislation. There is a difference. There are some things like reforming qualified immunity, like Section 242, criminal civil liability, that can only be done through legislation. But President Biden has taken the full power that he has to make a maximal progress on this issue, and he has done so remarkably with the support of civil rights groups on the one hand and mainstream police organizations on the other.
Is there a hope in this White House that locales and states may pick up, take the lead from the president and move with this without laws?
Yes, so this is exactly, it's more than a hope. The expectation is by creating national standards, the federal government becomes a model. And the aim is to support and encourage state and local governments, state and local federal law, state and local law enforcement organizations to copy these reforms and implement them themselves, and then for the federal government to provide resources to support them as they make these reforms. So yes, the intention is, while the president is not by law able to mandate what happens at state and local levels, that's why we need legislation. Another reason why we need legislation. He can set up a model and support state and local entities as they do so. And that's what we expect will happen from this executive order.
Let's go back to qualified immunity. Accountability and civil rights married with policing and failed. I understand the White House is expected to double down its efforts calling for a law. But are you willing to go at the law without qualified immunity, or does it have to be in it?
The negotiations that were happening in the Senate, led by Senator Booker with Tim Scott, that ultimately failed, may have fallen short of all we and they might have wanted, or at least Senator Booker might have wanted, on qualified immunity. Having said that, I think we're all realists. Something is better than nothing. We want to get as much as we possibly can. And obviously qualified immunity is very important. But even codifying the reforms that are in the president's executive order, if they were codified into law and applied to the state and local level, that would have a real meaningful impact.
We have way too much free content over here at The Grio. Stream a world with free entertainment, lifestyle, and news content. Celebrating Black excellence 24/7. Download The Grio now. It's free. The Grio.